Okay. Your boy's finally live. Sorry about that. I was chowing on some dope chicken noodle soup made by the lovely Lisa. She's pretty consistent when it comes to the chicken noodle soup. You know, when your woman can cook chicken noodle, you know you're doing fine. So we are... I've seen the suggestions of what I should have said. That's funny. We have a very special, just kidding, this is totally like the same thing that happens every week, segment here on After Hours where I answer your questions. And that's basically all we do because, like, I feel like a lot of people, I'm going to say kind of what I said, I was talking to Lisa about this earlier, you know, a lot of the other guys out there do a lot of, like, the tech news and stuff, and they're pretty good at what they do, right? They've been doing it for a long time. You know, Paul, Kyle, Brian from Tech Yes City does it a lot. And I don't feel like doing the same things, especially seeing as though we're on a Sunday night, right? So, or Monday morning, depending on where you live. If I look tired, it's because I went to the beach, by the way. So I'm pretty, like, sun blasted. But yeah, I feel like those stories just get recycled by so many tech tubers, and I just don't want to fall into that same kind of role where I'm just repeating the same stuff others already have. So in this scenario here, it gives you a bit of a bit more, I don't know, of a personal touch, I think, when I'm just answering questions. All I'm here for. And so we're going to try something different this time. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you know that I asked for all of your questions, and I want to give those questions priority this time around. Like, if you don't want Twitter, next time we can try Facebook, or we can try Instagram. Center this camera up just a bit better. It doesn't matter to me, but just some outlet other than the chat box where you guys can have a better chance. Am I peeking? I feel like I'm peeking. Let's fix that. Okay. Just another area where I feel like you guys can send questions in. I can go through those in a list where they're already kind of pre-sorted, versus here, I kind of just got to scroll up and try to find the best ones. Now, you can still ask questions via the chat box. That's what it's there for. That's why I'm showing it on screen. So I encourage you guys to still ask those very important questions. Look, Jeffrey8696 just asked why tornadoes only touch down in trailer parks. We all know that's not true, but it's pretty funny that you should say. I mean, it's not funny, but it's just when you think of a tornado touching down, it's always the trailer parks, right? And I feel like those are the ones that get exposed the most. I'm going to answer this question legit. I feel like those are the ones that get covered the most because trailer homes are typically built cheaper. They're built with lighter materials, and tornadoes tend to do the most devastation to those. So when you see them covered, usually the bricks, you know, the full-on brick and stone and cement structures, if they're not standing, they're still not as bad as like the totally destroyed mobile homes, and those are the ones you always see pictures of. So that might be why we have a stereotype of sorts when it comes to tornadoes and trailer parks. Boom! Didn't think you'd hear about that on Science Studio, did you? See, guys, anything goes here as long as I feel it's relevant to science in general or what we talk about on the channel normally. So I see a bunch of your questions on Twitter. If you guys want a better chance for me to answer your question, you can find my tweet. It's pretty much up the top on my profile, and you can submit your question via that tweet. The link to this live stream, by the way, is there. So we're going to start off with a few Twitter questions, and I'm going to scroll up. I see you guys asking some good questions in the chat as well. Let's see here. Cody, I totally trust you enough to make you a mod. Let me hook you up. Boom, there you go. Thanks, by the way, for your continued sponsorship. I do appreciate that. You know, it's just a few bucks, but it really does go a long way. I don't even know if I've actually, I guess if you guys have been doing it for 2 months or so, then you're loyal, and I appreciate the extra kickback that you guys give us. Okay, so start off with a few Twitter questions here. I want to start off first with my good friend Mark Bateman. Mark asked, do you think LeBron going to LA makes the NBA better or worse? We kind of touched on this in the last After Hours live stream, although I hadn't known at the time that it was actually official that he was legit going to move there. And look, what this tells me is that it is all about money. Not that this is news to anybody, but this literally has nothing to do with where people feel like playing, where they feel welcome, all this sappy stuff. It's all about money. Who pays the most? Who has the biggest, most, you know, just solid contract out there, where you see prospects in the future, where you see your team going, right, with the other teammates that you have with LA Lakers and with where he was before, with Cleveland and where he was at Miami. I mean, he was kind of jumping all over, but I feel like LeBron just wants another win bad, and going to LA is just pretty much I mean, those are one of the 2 or 3 big teams out there in terms of the money behind them. So, yeah, I think the guy just wants another win, another W, and I don't blame him for that. That's why he plays, right? He plays for the money, he plays because it's fun, he plays because he wants to win. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think this ultimately just reveals that it's all about money. Anyway, yeah, talking about basketball in Science Studio. I just totally contradicted what I said a second ago, but here we go. Another one. This is from Brian Stroh, BPS Customs. What's going on, Brian? I met Brian in real life at CES, and he is a top-notch dude. He says, Dearest Greg, do you love your new car? Follow-up, why do you wish you were still in... Why do you wish you were still in the Audi Club? Oh, he's assuming I wish I was still in the Audi Club. And then PPS at CES in January, we should totally race dune buggies. Loser keeps the infinity. We will be doing that. I love my new car. I love it. It's really, it's just an all-around solid car. It's a newer car than the S5 was, and it's faster. It's noticeably faster. I love forced induction engines. I don't know. I feel like they're more tunable. They might not be more reliable, but they're just more fun to drive. This one's not a stick shift or anything that you would think of like a fun to drive kind of car. This is a totally like daily drivable car, but it's fast. It's peppy when you want it. It's a coupe. It's got like a nice like red leather interior. I love it. It's kind of just like the S5 was, but just in an improved state, and it comes with a really dope warranty. So yeah, that's my reasoning behind the purchase. Do I wish I was still in the Audi fan club? I mean, sure. Like, I miss Quattro. I miss all-wheel drive, especially Audi's version of it. They're one of the best in the business when it comes to that. So the grip, yeah, I miss it. I don't miss how much the S5 weighed, and I don't miss the sketchy reliability concerns I had with the longevity of the car. Jaden Harper on the chat and YouTube asks, are you in Deutschland right now? And the answer is no. I'm here in the studio in Florida. Lisa is here with me. Lisa's got to go back to Germany in this week, so Wednesday. I've got to drop her off at the airport. She's got some weddings to go to back home, and so it's going to be another sad goodbye. But you know what sucks is we're kind of used to it. Like, we're kind of used to already saying goodbye so many times and being apart for months. It's something I wouldn't wish on anybody. So hopefully at some point in the near future we can get it to where we can be together all the time and not have to say goodbye. It's really weird having to say goodbye periodically to your own wife. Okay, I see Trojan with a 4 gaming. What desk under 50 inches wide would you recommend for a dual monitor setup? Okay, so that's an interesting question. I think if it's under 50 inches wide, then you're going to have serious concerns trying to fit 2 monitors and a PC on your desk. I don't know, I'm just trying to picture it in my head right now. If you have 2 24-inch monitors, which is the smallest I would recommend you go, and then you try to fit something like an S340 Elite or a Fantex P400 or what have you, a decent mid-sized tower case, it's going to be pretty cramped up there. You might have to have your monitor hanging over the side a little bit. Make sure, I think it doesn't really matter in my book how long the desk is unless you want to put 2 full-on setups on your desks. I think it matters more in terms of width, like if you're, well, depth. If you have more like front to back space where you have all this breathing room in front of you before you get to the monitor, you'll be much better off. So I wouldn't worry too much about the length of the case or the length of the desk unless you have like literal size constraints in your room. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up just a little bit here. I have a question from... Okay, this is actually kind of ties into the dual monitor setup. So Pat Juicebox Adolfo asks, in regards to dual monitor setups, would you personally have 2 of the same monitor for consistency or 2 different models for versatility, with one having a wide color gamut for content creation, for example, the other having like a high refresh rate for gaming? So this is interesting. I never looked at it this way, and that's actually a really smart idea. The problem is I'm too OCD to do it. So like I need the panels to be, if they're going to be like side by side, like these 2 here, these are the exact same model from BenQ, exactly the same. And I'm just so clinical about how I set things up. I really kind of anal about it sometimes. I just like the way things look the way that I like them, and sometimes I have to give Lisa crap because she'll change what I set up, and I'm like, ugh, like that doesn't look good to me. And you know, everyone has a preference, everyone's subjective when it comes to looks, so kind of something I've had to compromise on. But I would be willing to forego like the just marginal improvements when it comes to like color gamut, and just go for like an all-around fair middle ground when it comes to monitors. So if I could get 2 monitors that have a decent sRGB spectrum, you know, anywhere between 95 and 99% sRGB, that's really all I'm concerned about. I'm not worried about the Adobe RGB stuff. I'm not that particular when it comes to color grading and whatnot. Will is spamming the Discord, so if you guys didn't already pick up on that, he is absolutely destroying you guys in the chat. So join the Discord if you guys want to get more engaged. I hop in there every now and then. It's a tag team with Brian from Tech Yes City. So if you guys want to ask some used pots questions, Brian is definitely the guy for that. He's done, you know, full-on hands-on tests with a ton of the old hardware, and he still does it. That's what's so cool. It's like, it's still recent. I'm going to sign into the Discord right now, just so I make sure that I don't leave anybody out over there. The Discord, by the way, is free to join, and it's linked down below, so check it out if you haven't already. All right, let's hop back over here to the chat. Aaron asks if McLovin is dead. The answer is no. He is alive, and you will actually see him very soon. I know you guys are excited about that. Stay tuned. Okay, let's see. Scrolling up. Here we go. Actually, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Okay. Saint Frack asks, Greg, who's your favorite content creator on YouTube? It's got to be Doug DeMuro. I actually answered a similar question in the last After Hours live stream, but I love Doug. I love what he's done, and I love what he's made out of his channel just from purely his own personality. The guy is what he is in terms of like his channel growth, his popularity. That he owes all of that to his own personality, his quirkiness, the friendly kind of reviews that actually still contain reliable and decent info. When he's running through the cars, when he's driving the cars, the feedback he gives you is just all genuine, and I think people appreciate that. Okay. Do you think gamers should be pissed that AAA titles aren't optimizing for modern hardware? This is from Robinson Joe. I don't know. I mean, there are a few games, sure, that aren't very well optimized, but I'm not sure in general this is the trend. I haven't heard of, like, I don't have people coming to me all the time complaining about it. Like, optimization is always going to be an issue, and it ultimately comes down to the developers themselves. You know, this is stuff that's way beyond me, like when it comes to game programming, game code, and how to utilize things via APIs like DirectX 11, 12, Vulkan, what have you. But this is something that is a constant, continual process. Like, if you don't update your games and you just play when it releases, then you've got a problem, because you're not going to get those updates that do refresh usually that hardware that you might be sporting that wasn't out when the game launched. You know, you never know. So I recommend staying on top of updates, and most AAA titles will have updates that will improve utilization over time. I think PUBG is like the prime example of that. PUBG has massively improved in terms of how it utilizes hardware over the past 6 months alone. Okay, I see the good stuff. Mr. OG Gamer asks, Greg, 2700X and GTX 1080 for the Win 2 for 1080p 144 Hz at max settings. You could totally do that. I think the 2700X it's good. Depending on the game, you might not be able to max everything out, but I mean, the 1080 is going to be it's going to be a future-proofed graphics card for the next few years. So I would say, yeah, in 1080p, no problem. That's going to put more leverage on your CPU, but you get a 2700X there. If you want to do extra things in the background, you should have no problem at all. Yeah, I would say I wouldn't stress max settings. They'll be very high settings in most games, and I've tested almost that exact config, so I can tell you firsthand that it's a good combo. Okay, we have a question from Adam Stevenson in the YouTube chat. What do you think of the Fantex Entho Lux and its overall airflow to work with? The Entho Lux. One sec. I want to make sure that I'm not confusing. Oh yeah, this is the one that's been out for a while. This case firsthand, I do not know. I used to build in a case that it was like the Entho M, I want to say. Is that what it was? The Entho M acrylic? Yeah, the Entho Pro M, or just the regular Entho M if you don't have the tempered glass model. Those cases, I never really was worried too much about airflow because they have that front grille there. But the Entho Lux does look like it has a slightly restricted front panel, so I don't know. I gotta put my hands on the case. I haven't actually built in it, so I can't answer it fully. Okay, scrolling up, I see another good one. Here we go. Christopher Ortega, is there a big difference between high settings and ultra settings? It depends on the title, obviously, but I think in a general sense, high settings to ultra settings is going to mean the difference between, 2-time anti-aliasing and 8 times anti-aliasing, and there's going to be a huge difference there in terms of how hard your GPU's got to work to just smooth out those jagged edges in games. So probably, yeah. Okay, we have one from 741 More Gaming. Greg, please answer R3 2200G with a 1080 or an R5 2400G with a 1070 Ti, or an R5 8400 with a 1070. I am on a very tight budget, and these three fit perfectly. Which one do you recommend? You got to give me more details. 741 More Gaming. You got to tell me what resolution you want to play in. What are you looking to do with it? You just want a game? You want content and create? I need more info. I can tell you, just if I was building a PC for just general use, I would probably go with the. I don't really see the point in going with R5 2400G if you're gonna pair it with a discrete card anyway. I would just say, I don't know what Will's telling me. Will, what are you talking about? But I would try to work a little higher into like R5 1600 or 2600 territory and combine that with a 1070 or 1070 Ti and you'll be perfectly fine. Okay, I see, let's see here. This is one that was just asked. Maruan? Good God, I butchered that. He asks, at Science Studio, what tips do you give me for trading PC parts to get a decent PC? I have literally how to buy and sell PCs on Craigslist video. Check that out. It's why it's up there. So instead of me taking all the time to answer it here, that video is there just for you. What's going on, Brian? Greg, I'll ask you anything. What is the meaning of life? And you better say a Xeon. How did I know you were going to say that? Yeah, dude, look, I need more hands-on experience with Xeons. I've built with, I think, 2 Xeons in my life. Well, not 2, but I think I have 2 full-on videos on the channel that are dedicated to Xeon builds. So I need the inside scoop, man. I need you to help me out a little more. We talk about this when we do the Tech World TV on your end. But yeah, I need to be a little refreshed with the current Xeon offerings, both in the used and new markets, just to see what I can get best bang for the buck wise. We have, scrolling up here, Marwan, that's how you say it, okay. Geo, Sebastian, Greg, are you a dog person? I actually have a cat. I don't have dogs right now, but I have cats and dogs. I think cats and dogs have different traits that are worth mentioning and addressing. You know, they're cat people and dog people. I think I'm both. I don't really care one way or the other. I think cats are more chill, they're quiet, they kind of do their own thing, and that's awesome. Dogs are more personal, they're more friendly, but there's a little more maintenance involved. So it depends on how you look at it, but I think both have their qualities. I wouldn't mind owning both cats and dogs. Okay. Enkan Gaur asks, are your views on Microsoft Surface Book good for general use? I don't like Microsoft's markups with their own laptops. I really don't. Even the Surface Book, I'm just not... Oh, yeah, hold on. One second. Surface Book. Make sure that I'm talking about the right one. Yeah, this is what I'm talking. There's so many different Microsoft laptops out there. The Surface Book is one that I've never really been intrigued in because I think it's overpriced. I think they give it up. The ones that you want, like the beefy ones, like this one right here from Best Buy. I got this pulled up, and I'm just going to read off the specs to you guys. So this is a Surface Book. This is the one with the detachable base. I don't like, by the way, how it's heavier on the screen than it is at the base. So that means the laptop kind of like, it's a little flimsy. It's a little awkward. I just don't like that. I don't like how it like folds over either, because there's like a gap. I feel like you can just push the back end of it with a hinge, and it'll just snap or something. Just a weird kind of curve. But anyway, we got one here. This is of course, Best Buy's gonna be super freaking vague about their specs. This has a GTX 965M, an Intel 6th Gen Core. What am I reading here? This isn't even an up-to-date. This is whatever. Okay, this whole thing fell apart. Anyway, Surface Books are typically overpriced. I just don't think that they're worth the markup. Scrolling down, what do you recommend for attaining a major in mechanical engineering? This is from Isaiah C. I have a should you consider engineering video on the channel. Just do a quick YouTube search. It's there for you, and it'll explain pretty much what you need to know about that. Ducks exist. Hey, Science Studio, I messed up the installation of CPU cooler and put it on the wrong way. I'd show you a picture, but I can't send links. Is my CPU going to fry, or does it not matter? I'd have to know what you mean by wrong way. Did you like turn it sideways or something? Is your fan pulling in air from your graphics card? What do you mean by that? You need to be more specific, and if you check temps, more than likely you're going to be okay. Victorous22, what's going on, my man? I see you quite a bit, and thank you for the super chat. Hey, Greg, what settings do you usually test games for FPS? I have a 1080 Ti 8700K and only get 100 FPS at 1080p in Overwatch. That's a very strange frame rate. I would suggest that you monitor GPU and CPU usage, because right now, I mean, you got the best of the best when it comes to gaming right now. You get the 1080 Ti, best for GPU, 8700K, best for CPU, in terms of like value, I think, for money. So yeah, that's really low. I mean, I get a higher config here with an 8700K and a 1070 Ti, so I know that you're shorting yourself somewhere. But check usage. That would be where I'd start, and just see if you're maxing out anywhere or if you're being underutilized. Check your system usage, system spec allocation in the task manager, and just see what's going on. It's a little fishy. Another super chat here. I'm going to address these real quick. This is from The Greatness. Thank you for the $5 super chat. A $2,000 laptop with a 1070 Max-Q i7-8700H 512 M.2 and IPS 1080 144 Hertz from Best Buy. It's the MSI GS65 Thin. I've seen that. I have looked at it, but I just don't like MSI's design of that laptop. Like, if I was going to spend that much on a laptop, I would go with the Razer laptop instead. I think it looks a lot better. I think it's got a sleeker profile, although I do like the screen of the new laptop. So that's a tough one. I mean, $2,000 for anything it's a lot of money to invest. I just dropped $1,500, speaking of that, on a MateBook X Pro, which has a discrete graphics card in it, the MX150, which isn't powerful by any means, but it's enough to run in a lower resolution things like Fortnite and even PUBG, and that's paired with the Kaby Lake R i7. I forget the SKU number, but you guys can look it up. 512 gig M.2, 16 gigs of RAM, that beautiful edge-to-edge display. So I'll be interested to actually get my hands on one finally after just watching reviews for the longest time and review it for you guys on the channel. Okay, I see Hawk101 asks, what headphone do you recommend under 100 bucks without the need for an amp? Yeah, if you don't need an amp, I assume you're not like going to be too picky about the audio quality. You're not going to be like a severe audiophile by any means. The ones that are just plug and play, I would say some of the best ones for the money are going to be, Corsair has the HS70s. I like those a lot. HS60s, HS50s are still really good. They have good drivers in those. I wouldn't really venture far out of, like, if you can find Sennheisers for under 100 bucks. I haven't done my research, but I really like the Sennheisers I have, the 58Xs. So if you can find something along those lines that's a little cheaper but from a reputable brand like Sennheiser, then of course that's where I would go. But gaming headsets, a little tough, right, if you want the dedicated mic in there. Yeah, the one I use is the HS70, and that's, I think, under 100 bucks. If you don't want to spend that much, you can buy the HS50, which sounds basically the same, but it's wired in, and you should still be fine. Shaggy says, yo, Greg, long-time subscriber. I appreciate that, Shags. Is still funny your square head and look like Max Headroom. Thanks, bro. Appreciate that. Jeffy8696, I wonder if I will still live here when Captain Kirk is born. Interesting. You guys are really getting weird in the chat. 1060 6 gig for $249 after rebate now, or should I wait until a better deal like Cyber Monday or Black Friday? Is from Eric Ta. I'm on a pretty tight budget. I don't really care when I buy it either. Well, then if you don't care when you buy it, then just wait. That's what I would tell you. I wait for the prices to... The prices have already come down a lot, but I would wait until they actually level out to where they should be, which is not at MSRP. They should be slightly lower than that. And when I say MSRP, I'm talking about when they originally launched. That's kind of what the prices are now. They need to be lower than that. Okay, yeah. Let's see. Robinson Joe says, yeah, man, does YouTube like to eat system resources? It might be just your browser. So check what browser you're using. It's probably Chrome. If you're using Chrome, then yeah, you're going to have a fun time with that. Will. Is Will messaging me? No. I guess that was a really delayed sound. Anyway, let me go ahead and turn that down so you guys don't hear any feedback. Okay. Flower Poo says, what's the best monitor for 400 bucks? That's 144 Hertz. Look, without searching on my own during the live stream, I would just do a simple search on a site like Newegg or a site like Amazon and stick to name brands like Acer, LG, Samsung, Asus, BenQ, ones that you've heard of that get great reviews. just narrow down the resolution to what you want, refresh rate to what you want, and then just pick the one that's usually the cheapest that has the best rating. That's what I do. I reviewed plenty of 144 Hz panels up there, so if you want to check it out, check those videos out, you can. But I think for a live stream, it's not worth going through all that just for one question. So I would just narrow down the results yourself and pick the one that has, again, the highest reviews for the lowest price. Okay, let's see. Gatamon Tailman. Did I even say that right? The used market is still in sticker shock around here. Can get new for same or less. Yeah, I think a lot of people are resistant, right? They have all these like preset prices in their minds, and they don't want to back down. They don't want to accept the fact that the new market has now leveled off quite a bit. It's lowered significantly from where it was 6 months ago. So yeah, I think there's some resilience in the used market to balance out prices. So I would wait for that. I mean, I think people are going to realize that they can buy new, and if you use that as like, kind of like leverage, if you see somebody on Craigslist trying to sell a 1070 for $500 and you show them a new one on Amazon for $470, maybe you can get it for $400. You just show them the link and say, hey, I can buy this new for here. I'll give you $400 for it, but if you're going to still charge $500, I'll just buy it new. He could be stubborn and not give it to you, and that's fine. It's his loss because you can get one for cheaper anyway, and it's going to be new. But you might be able to still squeeze out just a $400 buy if that person is a little more forgiving and willing to cope with the fact that the market is no longer on his or her side. So yeah, just kind of feel out the seller. You'll get it. Let's see. Scrolling. Drum Gamer asks, have you ever played the Soul games? If so, which is your fave? I never have. I feel weird saying that, but I never have. I don't have time for many games at all. The only games I've really played hard are like Grand Theft Auto 5, Call of Duty series. I play PUBG a lot, and that's really about it. I'm very, like, once I start playing a game, I get locked into it, and it's hard to switch me to something new. And that's why I haven't touched Fortnite, really. Like, I use it, I benchmark with it, and that's about the extent of it. Not only do I suck at Fortnite, because I feel like it's just a cartoon by comparison, it's just, I don't know. I just don't like the vibe of the game. I don't like having to switch and relearn everything, and like the new, like the building techniques and stuff in Fortnite are like just make it a totally different game, and it's not something I want to learn right now. PUBG is still popular, and that's the one I'm going to stick with because I'm resilient. I'm that guy. Okay. Scrolling up, Christopher Ortega. I don't talk about politics. Sorry, that's one of the exceptions to the Ask Me Anything. I just don't talk about stuff like that. I think it's irrelevant, and people conflate everything. So it's kind of, I don't know. If Microsoft and Google collaborated, from Geo Sebastian, if Microsoft and Google collaborated, do you think that they could take down Apple in the PC smartphone space? No. I really don't. I think people are going to buy Apple because it's Apple. I think that Microsoft makes quirky phones, and I think... Oh, wow, YouTube is subtitling me live? Well, that's pretty cool. Will just inform me that we have subtitles and that they actually work. That's super strange. They're literally I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know you could do live closed captioning. Interesting. Again, we're going to go back to Twitter real quick because I want to show these guys some of the good stuff. I see all these questions in here, and I'm pretty behind on these. So here we go. We're gonna scroll down to. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, best camera for 1080p 60 FPS. If you want just 1080p 60, I mean some of the better cameras like the Nikon. I might get my names all wrong here. Or not Nikon. Excuse me. I don't know why I just said that. Canon's better for video than Nikon is, and I can attest to that firsthand. What am I looking for? Is it the 5D? I feel like it's the 5D Mark IV. I feel like that's the one I was thinking of. And I'm pretty sure the 5D Mark IV doesn't have 4K capabilities. Oh, no, it does. 4K video at 30 FPS. Oh, well, there you go. What about the 60D? Is it a 60D? I don't know much about Canon other than the fact that they are better for video. Yeah, the 60D, are there like marks to these? I don't think so. Yeah, this is clearly something I need to research. What I use, if that'll help you at all, I use a Sony a7 II. and I use a Panasonic Lumix G85. So the G85 is kind of like a dumbed down version of the G5, and that'll shoot 4K 30. The A7S II will as well, but both are great 1080p 60 shooters. So I would stick with Panasonic for 1080p 60. Maybe get a used GH4 would be pretty sweet for that because you get the higher bit rate. Clearly I know more about Panasonic and Sony than I do Canon, but you might be able to find some cheap 1080p 60 Canon cameras out there, and I would prefer Canon over Nikon, and I would probably put them close to on par with Panasonic in some respects. Canon has a really sweet autofocus system. The dual pixels, is that what they call it? So yeah, that's something to consider. Rico Cruz, good question, Rico. Which mechanical switch do you prefer for gaming? For gaming, I prefer brown switches. Blues definitely feel better, they're more tactile. Reds feel like trash. I hate reds, and there's just like no feedback. I don't care that it is just like the easiest, it's the least resistant, or whatever you guys are gonna say if you use red keys for switch for gaming, but I hate reds. So browns, it's a great middle ground. I still get tactile feedback enough, you know, at least for what I do when I game, and I can still type with them too. So they're just an all-around good key. But every now and then I do go back to blues because I like the clickiness of blues. Cazador de Wolf, he says, drop out of college for YouTube with a question mark. I haven't dropped out of college. I already have an engineering degree, and I'm about to finish actually here in October with my master's. So your boy getting these degrees and he ain't using them. I don't know what's gonna happen. All I know is companies have good benefits out there, and YouTube gives me nothing when it comes to benefits. So it's something that's strongly swaying me into the private sector. Zylineth? I don't know if I said that right. My PC won't boot to Windows after the logo just turns black. I switch the GPU, then it works fine. I've tried everything I could, and everything I could find online. What's going on, and can I fix it? You just said you switched the GPU and then it worked fine, so that would be your graphics card. I don't know why that would be what it would. I don't know why it would show you that, but if you switch your graphics card, then that would tell me that it's your graphics card. That or you have some weird software conflict. But you could try wiping Windows and reinstalling. That would probably do the trick, just because Windows is really sketchy sometimes. But yeah, I would check. Let's see. LMAO Borgini XD asks, we have, what's your opinion on MX Speed silver switches? I've never used them. I haven't even heard of the switches. I usually stick with brown, reds, and blues. But I'll look those up and see what other people say about them, and then try to get my hands on one if I can, because that sounds interesting. Speed silver switches. I'll have to see here. Okay, Eric Day. I just upgraded from a i3 8100 to an i7 8700. That's a big upgrade, Eric. Is there anything I could do before or after installation, or am I good to go? Most of the time, if you're staying in the same processor family, it's not going to be an issue. Just stick with the the driver updates that Windows does automatically when you swap CPUs. The only time I'd recommend reinstalling an OS. Typically what I try to do is reinstall an OS every time I build a PC, no matter what, even if I'm transferring drives between Intel and AMD systems. If you swap from Intel to AMD, definitely reinstall drivers, or not drivers, reinstall Windows. Completely reinstall the OS, because you're going to have so many driver conflicts, they're going to affect FPS, they're going to affect performance overall. I can attest to this. I'm sure many others can as well, especially if you build multiple PCs and try reusing drives. From an 8100 to an 8700, I'm pretty sure you're going to be fine there. You're not going to have any issues in the long run when it comes to performance, because you're staying in the same family with the same chipset. I assume you're not swapping motherboards either, so you should be okay. Okay, scrolling down, I see we have a super chat here from Stinky Pete 01. Yo, what's going on? Okay, someone he says, how do you feel about certain tech tubers seemingly fanning the flames of fanboyism instead of remaining neutral? Do you see a negative impact? I mean, yeah, I see it a lot. And there are YouTubers out there, tech tubers, who I know and have talked to, who I think do a bit of that. I think a lot of us do it unintentionally sometimes. I think we try to remain unbiased, but people take our words out of context and make it seem as though we are being biased. Like, I'm just gonna call it like I see it. And when I tell you that one product is better than another, it has nothing to do with what that company tells me to say. It has nothing to do with how much money they might be paying me for a different ad or whatever. Their money is never going to attribute to what I say about a product if it is a comparison, let's say. Like, if it's a genuine review, then I'm never first off going to take money from a company to say especially to say anything like that. I'm not going to say anything you want me to say. I'm going to take the review at face value and say, okay, this is my experience with it. Here's how I see things. Here's the outlining facts, the graphs, and we'll go on from there. But I think some people will take something like, I would buy the 2700X over the 8700K for this scenario, and extend that to like every scenario, right? And say, oh, Greg favors AMD over Intel, which I think is BS, but I think people look for that. They look for those cues just to fanboy behind, because being a fanboy is super popular. There are a lot of them out there. So yeah. Okay, scrolling back up here, we have a GTX 1080 Ti SC2 or For the Win 3. That's a tough one, Salvador. I have more experience with the SC2 model, but I mean, they're both great. I would just check reviews. Try to check reviews from the same site. So if you're looking at Newegg, check Newegg's reviews for both cards, and just see which fits a little better. If anyone has weird finicky issues, pick the one that has less of those. Most of the time you're going to be fine with either of these cards. I wouldn't complain. EVGA makes a great graphics cards. Sanjay Patel, Science Studio, would you consider making a video about the whole process of buying used, or have you done this? Sanjay, I have a video talking about how to buy and sell used PCs on Craigslist. I'm sure YouTube didn't forward you that video because they don't send notifications to literally anybody on this channel anymore. But the video is out there. If you do a quick YouTube search, you'll find it. And I kind of run through like the steps, right? The ways to approach builds online that are used. Clearly they've been used before, how to haggle and deal in person. So if that's what you're asking for, that video, yes, has already been uploaded to the channel. Okay, I see good questions in the YouTube chat. Give me a couple seconds here. I'm going to scroll through some of the Twitter questions because this is where I wanted a lot of them to funnel through. Mr. OG Gamer asked, would a 2700X bottle a 1080? In most cases, no, absolutely not. It depends really on the game, though. So if you are dropping all of your in-game settings, if you're playing in a low resolution, like 720p or 1080p with a 1080, then more than likely, even if you bump up a lot of those in-game settings in 1080p, you're going to have a CPU bottleneck just because you're playing at a lower resolution. You're forcing more frames because the GPU is no longer a bottleneck. So you're always going to have a bottleneck. That's something that you can't really get rid of. You're not going to have a perfectly balanced system really ever, and every game is different. But in a general sense, I would say that's a perfectly legitimate combo. 2700X with a 1080, even an 8700K with a 1080, that's still a great balanced system. Another one here, Brandon Moore asks, have you ever had an AlphaCool reservoir get microfractures near the threading? No, not from AlphaCool. I had one reservoir for quite a while from them. I never had any issues with that. I did have some of the old Thermaltake reservoirs did split. You know, a lot of those have like plastic bases. Thermaltake components in general are going to be a little cheaper, and you're going to feel that not only with the product itself, but in the price, so it's kind of a trade-off. But the old Thermaltake Pacific reservoirs, I think they were called Pacific reservoirs, those did have issues with splitting just because they had cheaper plastic bases and the acrylic was pretty thin. But the newer ones, like the one that's included in the M360 kit that I kind of showcased, that one's actually really sturdy, holding up very fine. We'll see in 6 months how it's holding up, but supposedly they've corrected that issue. So no, not from AlphaCool. AlphaCool's, their reservoirs, as far as I know, have been pretty good, at least for me. All right, one more from Martin Crisson, interesting. For the same price, would you choose an 8700K based pre-built with terrible RAM, PSU, motherboard, and an ugly case, or a custom-built 8600K with components of your choice? Depends on the use case scenario. If you're just gaming, 8600K is perfectly fine for that. If you're doing more than gaming, I would go with the 8700K and eventually upgrade the other stuff like the RAM, power supply, and motherboard. In an ugly case too, that's a tough one. If you weigh aesthetics more, then that's fine. Upgrading from an 8600K to an 8700K shouldn't be too difficult at all. And if you can sell the 8600K and just reinvest that money in 8700K, then maybe it's more worth it to do that. So maybe play around in the used market. Okay, back to the YouTube chats. Let me see, you guys. I am pulling up the good stuff here. Alrighty. I do have a question here from Azrael2K8. I totally missed his $2 super chat. I apologize for that. But he is asking in Deutsch, so I'm going to totally translate this because I should know what it says. I know some of the words that he's saying, like, wie gut ist dein Deutsch mittlerweile? I don't know. How good is your German? Clearly not that great. Shifty's teaching me a lot, but I still, even when I'm in Germany and I actually am around people who always speak the language, like her family speaks German everywhere. They don't speak very good English, so I just have to use Lisa as a translator. But I haven't picked up as much as I should. I should be studying more. I'm in the middle of my classes right now, so when those end, I should have more time to approach it. Curly Fry asks, Fractal Design Meshify mid or a Define mid? If you care more about airflow, I think Meshify is a better choice. If you want more versatility, because the Define mid is a bit longer in terms of depth, you can fit an AIO without issues in the Define C, because you can kind of wedge fans up front, but you're going to choke off airflow. In 90% of cases, I would say the Meshify is the better buy. Okay, scrolling down here, I see the good stuff. Where are you guys at? Okay, Dave 3DFX asks, is 60 to 65C in games good temps? I don't know if that's for your GPU or CPU, Dave, but if it's for either one, those are perfectly fine temps. Not a problem at all. Jimmy142 Schmidt asks, how far can you overclock a Ryzen 3 1200? As far as I know, those will not hit 4 very often at all. I have a Ryzen 3 1200, but I haven't overclocked it anywhere near 4. I want to say the highest I got mine to, I think I just kept it at, excuse me, at like 3.8, I want to say. That might be totally wrong. I'm trying to remember what I did with that CPU. I think I used a stock cooler, so I didn't overclock it very far. But I imagine you could approach 4. In most Ryzen Summit Ridge CPUs, you can approach 4. Brian says, I speak German. He speaks German. De used PC parto del I wanto. I think that's the wrong wrong language, Brian. Oh, that's good stuff. Okay, Salvador asks, does the 8700K run hot, and would a Kraken X62 be a good cooler for it? Perfectly fine cooler, and it runs pretty hot because they use this terrible thermal compound. Okay, let's see. Sorry, Kelly says, sorry, I don't speak kangaroo. That's a rip on Brian. Ouch. Okay, Nate Dog says, hey, Science Studio, I'm building a PC with a 1700X, and I was going to choose a cooler from the Kraken series. Is it worth getting an X62? So the 1700X is, I have that CPU personally, I've used it quite a bit. You can overclock that one in most cases to 3.9 gigahertz. I would say 90% of those SKUs, assuming you have a decent enough motherboard for the overclock, it's going to hit 3.9 no matter what. 4 gigahertz is going to be really tough. You're going to have to shove a lot of voltage into the CPU. Anything higher than that, and it's going to run really hot. So it definitely starts falling apart at around 4 gigahertz for Summit Ridge CPUs. The X62 is perfectly fine. You can get by with a smaller AIO than that. You can go with the X42. They have the M22, like the 120 mil AIO from NCXT. So you can go with anything, even smaller than that, I would say. The X62 is just going to run a little quieter, I would say. Excuse me. Okay, we have some more questions here from Fran X64. That's what kind of work you have. I'm kind of confused by that question, so I'm just gonna move on. Christian Yap, do you want to do more laptop reviews comparisons in the future? Christian, yes. I talked briefly a second ago about the MateBook X Pro. I just ordered one, and I'll be reviewing that very soon. The laptop videos on the channel actually do really well most of the time, and I don't know if that's just because it's like it's something that gets shared a lot, or if it's just different content on this channel, so people tune in because they just want to see a different take on a different product than what they're used to seeing on the channel. I'm not sure, but they do well. So yeah, I'm going to keep those coming as long as I can. And I love reviewing mobile tech like that. That's how I started getting into tech in the first place anyway. I was buying and selling cell phones. I was flipping phones all the time in high school, and I didn't really make too much money from it, but I got to try out a ton of phones, and I loved mobile tech in that space. Laptops, same thing, but they were so much more expensive in high school without a job. I really couldn't keep that up, so yeah, cell phones it was. Okay, Rico Cruz again, which PC peripheral brand would you recommend for gaming? It doesn't matter. I'm not going to name a brand because several brands make really great components. I use all kinds of different brands. I got a BenQ mouse here. I've got Cooler Master keyboards. I've got Corsair keyboards. I've got keyboards from companies I can't even pronounce. I've got Razer headsets. I've got Corsair headsets. All over the place. There's not one that I would just recommend over anything. And then chairs, yeah, Vertigear is our chair of choice. And I should point out, Vertigear hasn't paid us a single cent. We haven't taken any money from Vertigear. have no problem promoting them because I love their products. I think they make better gaming chairs than a lot of the companies out there, and I've worked with quite a few gaming chair companies. Whether you like run the game, so on your game, on your resolution, if you bump the resolution, your GTX 1050 is going to be the bottleneck. If you bump in game settings, your 1050 is going to approach the bottleneck. You're always going to have a bottleneck, and no matter what scenario you have, something in your system will bottleneck the other. And so, if you're gaming at a really low resolution, really low in-game settings, then the 8350, I imagine, is going to be a pretty severe bottleneck. So, it's a trade-off, definitely, but in a general sense, that's not too bad a system. Although I would recommend eventually upgrading that 8350 because there's some great Ryzen 3 value out there. There's a lot of even used Ryzen PCs that you can buy. So try your best. Will says Thick Will likes the Vertigear SL5000. Oh yeah, did they send? Will, they sent you that chair, right? I'm pretty sure. That chair was that the one that they sent you? I know they sent him one, but I don't know if it was the SL5000. I'm assuming it was because he's talking about it. But yeah, so I like the guys at Vertigear. They're really cool to hang out with. I met Chris again. He works at Vertigear, and I got to talk to him a lot at Computex. So it was cool to catch up, and they're good people. So if I like the people that I work with, and it's just easy to talk to, easy to get samples. It's just so much more just stress-free. Some companies will want stipulation after stipulation after stipulation. When are you going to show it here? We need this shown by this date, blah, blah, blah. But companies that just trust your instincts, right, and that respect your opinions when it comes to their reviews, regardless of whether or not it's a positive or negative one, those are the companies I love working with because they take the criticism to heart and they usually re-implement those improvements, right? Even if it's not from me, if it's some other person's suggestion or a whole forum dedicated to a certain correction they want to see in a future product implementation, those are the companies that are really cool to work with. And there are quite a few of them that I can name. Okay, scrolling up. I see some more here that I missed. Michael Caballero asks, what is the stupidest mistake you've made while building a PC? I think most of you guys who've been around the channel know the answer to that question. When I thought that an NZXT blew up my system when it was actually me using the incorrect cable from a power supply that was short-circuiting everything because the wiring was all mismatched, right? So I was supposed to have 5 volts down the 5-volt line, but I have 12 volts going down to ground, and ground where 5 volts should be, and it was just screwing everything up. And I genuinely thought that cable was the cable that went to that power supply. So not until I sent in the power supply did I find out that it was the wrong cable. So yeah, that's probably the dumbest thing I've done. Just because I thought that I had every variable narrowed down, but very clearly I didn't. It was just something that I had overlooked, and that was all on me. So that's why there's an apology video that's still up on the channel, by the way. I haven't deleted it. It's still up there talking about my mistake I made with the U+. And kind of like an all call for everyone else, make sure you don't cross cables from different power supply manufacturers, especially if they fit in the same pinout. It doesn't mean that they're compatible because pinouts on different power supplies are different when it comes to modularity. So something to consider. Let's see here. We have a few super chats. Let me get 2. Thank you, Dead and Red, for the $2 super chat. Much appreciated. His question is, favorite form factor to build? I like mid-towers. So ATX is really easy. There's a lot of space usually. You can do a lot with ATX. And I don't like the supersized like eATX full tower cases typically. Very few that really catch my eye. So if it's got 7 PCIe slots and it's not too tall, it's not too wide, but it's just the right form factor. You guys know it's like around PCO11 territory from Lee & Lee, S340, P400 territory from NZXT and Fantex. That style case is my ideal form factor. And then one more here from Kelly Roman. Thank you for the $2 super chat, and it is actually a shout out to another viewer, COFASA, Kafasa, is that how you say it? Thanks for the help, bud. So very cool, you guys are helping each other out. I know I can't get to every question, but if you guys know the answer to something, you feel like jumping in, I do appreciate that. I'm just a one-man show here for the most part, so any help down there is, again, much appreciated. What's going on, Kryptonic? Kryptonic is one of our moderators. He is a loyal follower. I do appreciate him very much. What is the best dish that you can cook and the best dish that Lisa can cook. Good question. So Lisa can cook. She cooks a mean like shrimp scampi type thing. It's really good. I mean, it's pretty like simple in terms of what's in it, but she just has the right amount of flair. She puts just the perfect amount of ingredients in it. It's an Italian dish, of course. She is Italian, despite being of German nationality. Her family's Italian, so she has many Italian dishes in her head, and her implementations of them are great. My favorite dish, or the best dish I can cook a mean New York strip. You know, don't get between me and a steak. I know how to cook it. I know how to eat it. And so, yeah, I would say steaks I'm pretty good at. Hamburgers, anything on the grill with fire or charcoal, you know, that kind of stuff. I'm good with that stuff, especially outdoors. My favorite, like, professional dish, I can cook a mean salmon dish. I definitely, I worked in a seafood market for a long time with one of my local supermarkets here. And so I have a lot of experience cooking fish, preparing fish, cutting fish. And so I like to kind of bring that to the kitchen whenever I get a chance to cook, which is usually when Lisa leaves, because then nobody's here to cook for me. So then I got to be the one to step up. So I haven't cooked very much for Lisa, but I do want to get just more involved with that, because she works really hard, and she doesn't just sit around the house all the time. I mean, she works too. And she helps me a lot as well. So she's always really busy. She's probably busier than I am on many days. Amar R, hey man, I'm not here to ask any questions. I'm just going to say you are an amazing YouTuber. Amar, you are an amazing fan. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Even if you don't watch videos on a habitual basis here on the channel, I do appreciate you stopping by in the live stream, especially on a Sunday night or Monday morning. I know it's a hard time for a lot of people. Thank you guys for being here. Samuel Sierra asks, why do no tech tubers make budget builds anymore? We do. I mean, they're probably not as often shown on the channel as you might like, but we have builds that suit all kinds of price ranges. I mean, look at Brian. Brian was just here. I'm not sure if Brian's still here, but Tech Yes City does literally use builds all the time. They're all budget oriented for the most part. So Brian can hook you up for sure. I'm not trying to plug his channel specifically, but you guys know, like, there are channels out there that emphasize budget builds. And if you're talking about like big tech tubers, then, you know, like I know Paul just recently released some video where he kind of runs through PC parts for a few builds, and he has an $800 build that's actually really good, and that's because prices have come down a lot. So something else to consider there. We're going to be about here for another 5 minutes or so, so put in your last round of questions, and we will be calling it soon. So again, jump to your questions, throw them in the chat. I will do my best to answer them. There's one from Home D90. He asked if I prefer pie versus cake. The answer is cake every time, because I'm a kid at heart. I love cakes. We have a super chat here from Levan Castillo. Donated $2 through the super chat. Appreciate that. Is 1063 gigabyte worse than an RX 580 8 gigabyte? If your decision is between a 1063 gig and an RX 588 gig, I would go with the RX 580 any day. If it's a 1066 gig and an RX 588 gig for the same price, I would choose the 1066 gig because I prefer the GeForce software, even though the new stuff is kind of crappy. I prefer the old GeForce software, but I love Shadowplay. I love just the ease of use when it comes to NVIDIA products, and typically that's just my go-to for, you know, things that are equitable. But the 580 is a slightly better card in certain scenarios. So if you play certain games that you know that card's going to perform better in, then the RX 580 is the better choice. But in that particular case, a 3 gig 1060 just isn't going to cut it today. The RX 580 8 gig is definitely the better choice. Okay, scrolling up here too, we have a few more. Is Liam G. McCann asks, is a 1070 Ti a good mid-range card for 1440p? It is a perfect card for 1440p. I don't think you'll be disappointed with the 1070 Ti at all. We have two running in our systems here, one in each build. They're great, and you can find them usually for good prices as well. Okay, I have, let's see, I'm getting rid of this. We have a super chat here from, what is this? We have a super chat from Michael Caballero. What's going on, Michael? I think we just answered a question from him. I recently watched a video where you drop test a tempered glass panel. Would you consider recreating the experiment with a system inside for a more realistic scenario? Maybe. I might put just like trash components in there, stuff that I don't care about anymore, but then I feel like it would just be like a disservice because I could give that system away. And if I do break anything in the name of science, then it's just kind of a wasted product. I'm not sure. I think you can imagine if a system fell off of a table, you know, from 3 or 4 feet high, it's probably going to have issues. The graphics card, you know, the PCIe bracket might break, the CPU cooler might break, there's just so many things to worry about there in a nightmare situation. I might do it, but it's just tough to see a system like that go to waste when it could be given away, or yeah, just given away or recycled or what have you. Okay. We have a question from Jeffrey869 says, good one. Star Wars versus Star Trek. I'm going to go with Star Trek because I feel like many people are going to say Star Wars. The original Star Wars are great, but they've been stretching out this series, trying to milk all the cash, especially now with the new, change in ownership, and I don't like the way it's implemented. So, yeah, Star Wars is kind of that's a dying breed in my book. We have random tech stuff. What do you think about 2nd to 3rd gen processors and motherboards? I think they're great if you can get them for a good price, especially on Intel's side. The FX stuff is a little harder to justify. I think you can get like as far back as Ivy Bridge though for Intel and be perfectly fine there. Ivy Bridge, Sandy Bridge, even Haswell. You can find good deals out there. So just find something you think is exceptional for the price and check reviews and you'll be good to go. We have a question from Jarny Fartgas. That's a heck of a name. Do you like bananas? Yes, I do like bananas. I do like bananas. I feel like there's some context in there that I'm not getting, but I'm going to answer truthfully. I do like bananas. Okay. Nips. What do you think is the dumbest hardware that's had RGB added to it? PSU. I think a power supply with RGB is kind of stupid. I'm not going to lie. I think it's pretty dumb. Yeah. Okay. We have Paulie Vitali asks, I've noticed you haven't made a video on the Z370 ASRock Tai Chi. You usually like the Tai Chi. Review soon? I don't really talk to ASRock very much. I don't like their PR department. Their marketing department's pretty... they're not fun to work with. They're not easy like they used to be. I used to have a rep that worked with ASRock who was she was spot on all the time. Her name was Odelia. I don't know where she is now. I know she doesn't work there anymore as far as I know, or at least in that department. But they changed who we talk to now, and they're just so different, and in my opinion, they're not easy to work with. So we don't do much with ASRock anymore. They don't even talk to me, and I frankly don't care to talk to them. So unless they step up their marketing PR game, it's just not a vibe that I'm feeling. So if I buy ASRock, it's going to be, again, out of my own pocket. I'm not going to wait for them to decide to send me stuff, whatever. I'm looking for some good questions. Lamborghini Civic, what do you drive? I drive an Infiniti Q60 Red Sport. What is my dream car? Probably a McLaren P1. I like the way those look. Those look pretty slick. Let's see. Scrolling up. Okay, what do you think about the AMD RX 680? I have no idea what that even is. I've never looked. If that's anything, it's a rumor. So I have no idea at this point. We have, what monitor should I get? 75 Hertz or 144 Hertz? 144 is a huge step up from 75. I recommend getting a 144 if you can, assuming you have the hardware to push those frames. I'm going to go through and answer just a couple more Twitter questions, and I'm still going to address the chat box here on YouTube, so don't be afraid to keep asking your questions. I am coming back, so give me 1 second here. Scrolling down. Okay, this is the good one. All right, we have, is Ryzen 3 and a GTX 1060 good enough to play most VR games at max settings or near max settings? No, I wouldn't say max settings, no, because VR is going to be more equivalent to like, even if it's 1080p VR, which is, I forget what the HTC Vive, I have an HTC Vive and I forget what the resolution is. I'm pretty sure it's like 1080p or 1440p, but you want a high refresh rate with those VR experiences, because if you don't, if you have like 60 or 50 FPS, you're gonna get headaches because your brain's gonna see like just a frame by frame pass through when that screen's right up against your face. It's gonna be really tough to get around that, like that headache sensation that you'll get. It kind of feels like you're in vertigo. So I would stress heavily getting something better than a Ryzen 3 and a GTX 1060. As far as I know, is a GTX 1060 VR? Is that like a VR ready card? I don't know if it is. If it is, then yeah, then the card's fine. If it's not a VR ready card, I would take them at their word that it's not a VR card. I feel like it is. Let me check real quick. Okay, here. Yeah, it's VR ready. I should have known that. So 1060 is fine, but the Ryzen 3 CPU, I would try my best to upgrade. Okay. Here we go. A couple more. Mike Frost asks, ever wish you had decided not to start a YouTube channel? No, I don't. I'm really happy with what I've gotten this to at this point, what you guys have helped obviously grow this channel to at this point. You know, the issues with YouTube and all the crap we've had to deal with over the years is totally worth it. I love doing this, and I'll be sure to keep it up as long as I can. As long as this channel's around, as long as you guys want to watch videos, this channel will be here. Whether I go into the private sector working or not, which I could certainly do and make a lot more money doing, this is a passion of mine. I love working with tech. I love building PCs, communicating with all the companies that we work with. It's a really unique experience. Not many people can say that they can do it full time. And if I can help it, I'm going to try to keep it up. So we have, let's see, Alex Silver. We'll do one more YouTube question. Would you ever consider attempting a dual hardline system in a mid-tower? Probably not. I don't think there's enough space in most mid-towers for a dual hardline system. That's just my take on it. Yeah, not too sure. Skylar Wallace, thank you for the $2 super chat. What's going on, Skylar? i3 7350K or Ryzen 2700X? Deep cool PSU or be quiet? I feel like you're trolling me, because if you've watched this channel for a while, you know that the 7350K is my go-to box opener. So if you're just evoking a response from me, then there you go. So yeah, the 2700X is no brainer. And Deep Cool PSU or Be Quiet PSU. Be Quiet PSU, 99% of the time is going to be a better PSU. It'll be more expensive, sure, but it's going to be much more reliable. You'll have peace of mind not having to worry about those power supplies at all. They run super quiet, and most of them now are modular, so if you're into that thing, then there you go. I know the straight Power 11 is fully modular, for example. Excuse me. Okay, scroll on up here. Did somebody just reference? Let's see, here we go. Yep. This is good stuff. This is good stuff. I see. If you guys are gonna put like a bunch of like emojis and stuff around your comments, I might address it once, but I'm not gonna keep going back because you're putting emojis around your comments. So it's just something that I'm willing to throw out there. I see a few of you doing that. If you put random emojis, hearts, whatever around your comments, I'm not going to read them, just because you're trying to make your comments stand out from the rest, and that's not fair to everyone else. And I don't want a chat box filled with nothing but random heart emojis. So stop. Okay, thank you. All right, I'm done ranting. We have... what's going on, Mark? How's it going, my dude? Hey, Greg, been a fan. Not been a fan, big fan from Wisconsin. What's going on, man? My parents used to live in Wisconsin, and I heard that it gets very cold in winter. I'm sure you can attest to that firsthand. I'm sure that's news to nobody. But I've been to Wisconsin a few times. We go to, you have a Six Flags up there in, it starts with a W, Waukegan or Waukesha, I don't remember the city name. It might actually be in Illinois. I'm not sure. It's north of Chicago and south of Milwaukee. But we used to go there all the time. We love Six Flags. Okay. Must see the good stuff. Hey, Greg, are you from Louisiana? That's Connor Buchanan's question. No, I am from Florida. I went to school for 3 years in Louisiana, so that might be why you're thinking that. But yeah, anyway. Now we get a bunch of heart emojis. I knew this was going to happen, but at least you guys aren't like... trying to get my attention that way and to get your question answered. I appreciate the loves. Thank you, guys. We have a couple more questions we're going to get to, and then we're going to call this one. It gets late Sunday night, early Sunday morning for most people, and you guys need to get to bed. You got work in the morning, right? So do I, even though I work from home most of the time, which is a privilege, and it's a curse in some ways. We all have stuff to do in the morning. So we'll end this one very soon. We have, let's see, Spencer, I don't discuss, there are two things I really don't like discussing on the channel, religion and politics, because those are two very heated topics. So I try my best. You might find out my political views, you might find out if I'm religious or not, and if so, what denomination or whatever, but I'm not going to specifically address stuff like that on Science Studio, because I feel like that's not the place for a channel like this to make a position. It incite too much hate. Too many people are erratic and just ridiculous sometimes, especially when it comes to politics. And I'm not about to swamp through that mess. So yeah, okay. Should I get a YZ85? D McGarrick. I have no idea what that is. I feel like I should, but I have no idea what a YZ85 is. What's going on, Andy? Thank you for that super chat. $2 New Zealand, whatever that is in the US, doesn't matter. Appreciate it anyway. And when are okay, Brian Lee asks, when are B450 motherboards coming out? Not sure. If I knew, I still couldn't tell you, because it'd more than likely be under NDA. But it should be soon. And you can take soon to mean whatever you want. Let's see. Some people are saying, yeah, it's early there, 5:06 in the morning. I assume, boss, you live in Europe somewhere, obviously. If you're 7 hours ahead, which is 7 hours from me, then you're in the German time zone. So maybe Germany, Switzerland, Italy area, France, or North Africa. Not too sure, but that would be my scope, I would assume. Does 720p monitor bottleneck graphics card? Most likely not, Random Tech. Most likely not. Depends on the graphics card. It's kind of a vague question. Alexander Sauceda, what is the most interesting science in your opinion? Very good question. Astronomy. I think there's so much we don't know about astronomy. Physics, which kind of wraps into astronomy in a very unique way. There's so much we don't know about space. And I mean, we'll spend generations discovering new things about it. That's what's so cool. Like, you know, you can only learn so much about certain things, right? You can only learn so much about an engine. You can only learn so much about how a CPU works. It doesn't matter how specific you get, there is a finite limit to that. But with astronomy, I just don't feel like there is. I feel like if we ever got to that point, by that point, we would already have access to all the information we'd ever need anyway. So I love just like the idea of not knowing much about a topic and just kind of jumping in and being willing to accept whatever comes your way. And that's what astronomy, I feel like, does. Okay, Clark Griswold or Al Bundy? Why? Miko, that's a good question. Let's see, a couple trolls in the chat. I see you. I see you guys. I'm not calling you out. Nope, you ain't getting it. Okay, JBT, hey Greg, are you going to do a Grand Theft Auto meetup again or something like that? I found it a blast last time. Yeah, sure. I think we'll do like a reunion meetup maybe on GTA. It would have to be a certain night that many people would be willing to get on. So I imagine like a Friday night or a Saturday night. Maybe next week we can do a GTA 5 live stream. That would be pretty fun, actually. Maybe if not a live stream, we'll just record everything and then I'll kind of chop it up so all the good stuff is in the video. So we'll see. But that's a good question. And let's do one more question. One more. Give me the good stuff, guys. I'm going to wait 10-15 seconds for you guys to hear this, and I'll see all the chats coming through. But give me a good question, just a final question you want me to end with, and I'll try my best to find the one worth addressing the most, at least in my own eyes. So give me one more. I need the good stuff. I see a couple monitor questions. Always go with the higher refresh rate. That's what I would say. No matter what. Go with a higher refresh rate. Don't go anything larger than 27 inches in my book. Okay, I see the good stuff. You guys are typing. They're all flooding in. This is the good stuff. Oh, yeah. This is good. This is good. Oh, yeah. Chris is down for GTA 5. Is that Chris Stoles? I think I know who. Yeah, this is Chris Stoles. That's cool. I won't tell them who you are, Chris, unless they already know, but that's really cool. Thanks for stopping by in the chat. We have some good stuff here. Good stuff. Okay. CRT monitors in 2018. Interesting, Nick. I don't think there's much of a play. I mean, yeah, with like the, you know, just there are advantages to CRT when it comes to like input lag and stuff, but I don't think that they have a dominant place in the market, and they won't. King of Hearts asks, air or dynamic? I think the dynamic is the better case. I have both in the studio. I have yet to push out my air review. It's going to take a while because I'm going to do some weird tests with it. But I think the dynamic is a better case all around. Someone asked, Rob Med says, 1070 Ti too much for 1080p 60 Hz laptop? Is it good to future-proof? If it's a laptop, I'm not sure. Are you talking about like an external GPU? If it's internal, then I wouldn't buy a laptop with the 1080p 60. That's overkill for that. But if you're talking about like an external GPU, then a 1070 is fine. It's okay to future-proof, and a 1070 already kind of is future-proof, assuming you're going to stick with that resolution and maybe a higher refresh rate, maybe 1440p gaming. You could still do that with a 1070. Okay, I see you guys. Let's do one more real quick. Interesting. Daniel Ramos, that's a really good question. It's a really thought-provoking question. Would take years to explain, right? Master Guy 635 Greg, when's the car update video coming out? Very soon. I'm just not. People are kind of finicky about car. Like they see one car review on a channel like this, and they're like, "Oh, don't switch your content. I don't want to watch your channel anymore if you're gonna switch your content." I'm like, it's one car video. Like just chillax, people. That's what I feel like saying just in the all chat. But yeah, it's coming soon, and we'll have fun with it, and might even include McLovin, just because I know you guys miss McLovin, and we've been talking. We have some things in the works, so stay tuned for that. Okay, good stuff, you guys. Everyone spam emoji. Sanjay Patel. All right, so yeah, we're gonna end the stream right now. I feel bad if you guys didn't get your question in, but I want you to do one last thing for me before you jump out of chat. Spam me with like your favorite emoji, and you can spam it 100 times. But I want you guys to spam the chat, and we're gonna go out with a bang. All right. So give me the good stuff. I want to see it, and then when I'm satisfied, when I see what I want to see, I will end the live stream. So hit me with all those weird emojis that you can find in the little emoji section down there, and let's spam the heck out of it, and that'll be a good way to go out with a bang. So what's going on, Painted Potato? What's poppin', Jimbo? What's going on? Spam it, you guys. Spam it. What's going on, Connor? I see you, Fire Falcon. Give me the good stuff, guys. Give me the good stuff. Just spam it. I see one spammer. I need more. Give me more spams. What's going on, Paul? What's going on, Lamborghini Civic? Gaming with Glees. I see you. Skylar Wallace. Retro Vice. Wes. Cat Pro. I see you guys. I see all of you. Inferno, I see you. Will spamming the Discord. This is epic. There's so many spams now. I see you, Chris. I see you again. What's going on, Kryptonic? I see Kryptonic again. All right, this is pretty sweet. Nick, I see you, Nick. It's just chaotic now. Thor Cox, I see Thor. Yep. I am thoroughly satisfied. This is good stuff. What's up, Nacho? I see you, Nacho. All right. Why was this one hidden? Skylar Wallace's was hidden. That's weird. But we're definitely throwing that. Terrible Mechanic, I see you. What's going on? And oh yeah, I'm hit. Oh, I like that one, Mr. Stereo 55. That looks good. I like that with the grenades and whatnot. Well, not the grenade, but the bomb. That looks really cool. What's going on, CVNT? Get enough. I see you. Julian, what's going on? All right, peeps. What's going on, Reen? I see Bootman. What's going on, Bootman? Okay. JWNN. I see those soccer balls. Good choice. Good choice. I see Kryptonic. I see you. I see you. What's going on, Keith? I see you. It's MM. I see you. What's going on? All right, folks. All right. The Tupolev. Some of y'all's names I'm just butchering. Hey, Vsauce, Michael here. I see it. What's going on, Trucker Bomb? Thanks for stopping by again. Thanks for supporting us again as a sponsor. Jeffrey, what's going on, Jeffrey? I see you again. Nick, I see you guys. Uden, is that how you say your name? Uden? Might not be how you say it. Fire Falcon, I see you. And this is good. Julian, what's going on? All right, folks, we're going to end the stream. Thank you guys for spamming the chat with all of your favorite emojis, and we'll be back here again this time next week. It's a Sunday night live stream here in the States called After Hours. This is After Hours number 16. I appreciate, that's what I meant to say. Appreciate you guys watching, and we will catch you in the next one. Now for an awkward period of silence while I make sure that the live stream is terminated.